Welcome, everyone. It's another episode of It's Bigger Than Business podcast. I'm with Stuart Crane. How are you doing, Stuart?
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, Manny.
And great. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. And it's a special show. Anytime we're joined by a seasoned entrepreneur. Um, it's always awesome. And then it's great to hear that you're launching a new product too. So um, why don't you tell the community a little bit about yourself, that if they're unfamiliar with you and what you're working on. Well, accomplishments before, and we'll get to what you're working on.
Okay, yeah, great. That sounds good. So I've been in Columbus literally since the late 80s. And so I love it here in Columbus and just always been, passionate about business here. And in the late 80s, I started working at Battelle. And a lot of people in Columbus know about Battelle, and worked there for a little while and started getting into software development, specifically writing like CRMs, like, customer information software, because back then all these businesses had literally 3x5 cards and file folders would be all their customer information. Now, remember, this is the late
Wow.
80s.
Yeah.
So I kind of, got busy writing software to help companies in Columbus automate all of their customer information. And I was working for probably 8 or 10 companies doing that kind of on my own software development, and worked on a project with Riverside Hospital. And the guy at Riverside Hospital that I was working with, he was enamored by this software and how we could make it automate all of their patient records. And so it was specifically in the pharmacy area. So in 1993, I started a company with this guy, Jeff Johnston, here in Columbus. We were actually both living in Clintonville. He was my backyard neighbor. And we just said, let's make this software work for all of the pharmacies, the specialty pharmacies all across the country, because the software was so good for Riverside. And so long story short, over the course of 20 years, from 93 to 2013, my partner and I, Jeff, built this business up to be the #1 software for specialty pharmacy, which is kind of like, if you're familiar with infusion medications or intravenous meds and injectables and that sort of thing, the software automated all of the patient records for that. And then the software is called CPR Plus. And actually, some people in Columbus listening here, they may have heard of CPR Plus or Definitive Home Care. That was our company for 20 years. We had a number of different buildings around Columbus because we were growing, and our last building was off of Schrock Road on Park Meadow. And we employed about 75, 80 people at its peak in 2013. And that run from 93 to 2013 ended with a sale. So we sold the business to a larger company that also did software in the medical software. And they just really wanted to own all the customers and the technology. So we sold in 2013, and I kind of moved on. I was like, okay, what do I do next? And so that was, let's see, now it's 2021. Yeah. So, it's going on, 8-9 years. So
yeah, congrats. That's awesome. So a 20-year build up. And did you sell it to another company in Columbus, or what was
No,
that?
this company was pretty much global company. They had a lot of other software divisions all around the world. They're actually based out of Kansas City, Lenexa, Kansas, kind of suburb of Kansas. And we were talking to them for probably 4 or 5 years before we, did a deal. But they were kind of a competitor, much bigger than us. So it just kind of all worked out. And so they're based. It's a company called WellSky, WELLSKY, WellSky. So if anybody wants to look them up, that's where our software landed. That's where it ended up going. And it's still the #1 specialty software application that's being used today, which is kind of neat.
Wow, that's awesome. So, you're a pretty young guy, right? 2013, a company sells. What was the next, phase of your life like after that? Did you jump right into a next project, or did you take some time off to, just to kind of, realize what you just, accomplished?
Yeah. So, like? Yeah, I was really interested in podcasting and podcasts and audio, anything audio based. So I kind of pretty quickly created a podcast network called TV Talk. And TV Talk was basically a podcast series or network of podcasts for all these TV shows that were out there. And so we would record the podcasts right after the show aired at night, and then we would publish them in the middle of the night. And then the next morning, people could listen to these recaps of TV shows. So it would be like Big Brother, Survivor, or, some of the other just, dramas that are out there, NCIS, CIS, CSI and stuff. So that went on for about a year or two, and we just didn't get a ton of traction. We had listeners, but you needed to have literally like hundreds of thousands of listeners to get any sort of ad revenue. And this was before podcasting really got popular. Obviously podcasting is huge now, but this was 2013, so I did that for a while. And then it just, like I said, it didn't really get traction enough to keep it going, but it was fun. I had a blast. I learned a lot about podcasting and audio. So I kind of did that. I didn't make any money. It was pretty much just kind of a hobby thing, but it was fun to do. And then after that, I got into voice, and that's really, where I got into the whole thing with Alexa, Google Assistant, Siri, and everything, because those devices started coming out. What was that, like 2015, 2016, when they started getting big. And I was like, oh, I'd like to write software for a voice interaction, like a voice stuff. So that's what I got into in 2016. So it's been a journey kind of moving from, podcasting and then into voice. And then, we'll talk about it more, but the voice kind of, never really took off really either, because people are not really using their devices, their Alexas and a Google Assistants all that much, other than for playing songs and controlling their lights and stuff like that.
No, I mean, that's very, interesting and very true. I have an Alexa home. I got one behind me here in the office, and it's just not something that I think has super caught on. I think a lot of, you see AR, you see VR. So what was that like, trying to build Invoice? And, I remember you attending different conferences.
Right.
What was that like, and what do you think the future of that industry? Is it something that it's kind of at its peak and it's not going to get better, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think it's really not something that these third-party apps could really make a go of it, because, it's been how many years, since 2016, it's now, 2022, and you don't really see people using like the Expedia app or, or a Facebook app, or there's really nobody's using third-party apps. So as far as the third-party apps go, I think it's really not viable, and it's proven itself to not really be much. So then it's like, well, what is it used for? And it's really what everybody's using it for now, is just to kind of ask it questions, maybe get, give me some feedback on something. Or like I was saying before, it's people are starting their music, and they're controlling their houses with home automation and smart home. It's really big for that. But really, the third party aspect of it, or developers writing quote unquote voice apps for it, really hasn't gone anywhere. And I think you had Patrick Sweetman on, and I was working with him for a while on it, and it just never really gained enough traction to be able to have like the mobile app store on App Store, like Google Play and Apple's App Store. That's just massive, and you can build an app, but it never really took off or really had any traction whatsoever as far as the like Alexa skill store. And people probably don't even know what a skill is. Well, a skill is basically a voice app, and Google has things called Actions, Google Actions. But here we are, how many years later, nobody's really ever heard of those. They just talk to Google and talk to Alexa and ask it questions, but they don't know that there's these apps on there. And so they're really not getting much usage. So as far as the future, I think it's just going to continue with people just asking questions of it, and Google will get bigger because they have, the answers to most things. And so it's just one of those, it's not a fringe, because I think people will use it, but it's on the phone, they'll just do like quick commands and stuff like that.
Yeah. So talk about the end of trying to build that voice application and the pivot to where you're at now.
Okay. Yeah.
So working on. Yeah.
Yeah, my partner and I, Paul Cornwell, we've been working on these voice apps, since like 2017, 2018, and we're doing it. And so we started to work on a project actually for Amazon, because Amazon wanted to use these smart speakers, all the Amazon Echoes that are out there. There's millions of them out there to do basically e-commerce, or to sell their products, or to help sell their products. And so we were working on something for them where it could tell you about the product either that you just bought, so you already bought it, but when it came, it could tell you more about it, or just give you information about, well, what's available. So we started working on this voice skill or voice app for Amazon to basically have it explain products to you. And it was kind of slow, and in a lot of ways it was slow because Amazon's a big company and they were just moving slow. And also the interaction with a voice technology with a smart speaker is very slow, because you got to listen to all this, say this, and then go back and forth. And so it's like, well, this is really slow. And we started actually doing it also for all these Shopify stores. So you guys have heard of, all the online stores that are out there that have gone up, especially since the pandemic. All these shops have put their stores online. So they're using Shopify or GoDaddy or Squarespace or these different tools to get their store online. So think about, there's literally millions and millions of these online stores out there. So we were like, well, can we do a voice thing for that? And Manny, it was just freaking a nightmare. It was just not, feasible. So,
Yeah.
so I'm sitting there one day with my partner, Paul, and I'm just like, why don't we totally flip it? I mean, flip it 100% and say, okay, if this is so slow and it's telling you about, a backpack or binoculars, or, it's telling you about something. What if you could have instead of that being so slow, what if you could have the fastest possible shopping experience, known to man, essentially? Well, what would that look like? Well, the fastest possible, shopping experience could be, you just have your mobile device or a laptop or whatever, you're interfacing with as far as, the screen, and you just say a product, and that could be by voice, or you type it in, but you say it, and then instantly it comes back with every possible product that's out there on the whole internet. And for that, not just Amazon or Best Buy or, Target or whatever, not the big box, but all of these stores. So we started looking at Google and searching for these online stores, and come to find out, you cannot find these online stores on the internet unless you know their web URL, unless you know their web address. Because if you go to Google and type in, backpack or, Mandalorian or Baby Yoda or whatever, and you want to find products about that, they'll come back with the big box stores. Now you can go on Etsy and see some crafty stuff on Etsy about that, but really all of these online stores are pretty much hidden. And so the next thing I thought about was, why don't we write a search engine? Why don't we build a search engine literally so somebody can type in a search for any product, and it would go out to the web and it would find every possible product about that keyword or whatever that product was, and bring it back to you visually on a screen, kind of like a big grid of all the products, and you can just look at them all. And they're actually coming from literally millions of stores all over the internet, rather than, Amazon and Target and these big box stores. So we started building that, Manny, about a year ago. And, building a search engine is not an easy task, but we've been doing it. And we index now, we're over 1 million stores, and tens of millions of products that are in the database. And so we've called it 3 Clues, the number 3 Clues, all one word, 3clues.com. We have an Android app in the Google Play Store. We're almost ready to release the iOS app in the App Store, so you'll be able to do it on iPhone. But you can do it on iPhone right now by just going to 3clues.com with like Safari or your browser. But anyway, it's basically a search engine to find products all over the internet from all these online stores that you don't know about, because you can't really find them if you search for them on Google or Bing or whatever. So it's been fun to build, and we are literally right now in the midst of rolling this out and kind of launching it. And, there's no one date where you launch, you just kind of start promoting it and getting it out there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. I've been following a lot about Amazon businesses and scaling Amazon businesses and drop shipping, and so I think there's a lot of angles like to this. I feel like a lot of stores, that leverage Amazon, Google,
Right.
they could really, a tool like this is something that, they could really take advantage of and really, get their name out there. Is there a mechanism that you have in place to, alert these stores, what purchases is coming from, 3 Clues, and to kind of, have them incentivized to maybe, promote more, or like, how do you see that? Because I'm just thinking that, hey, if I'm a retailer and I notice a lot of sales coming from this, I'm going to focus some more time here and trying to just see what that looks like.
Sure. And it's really early days for 3 Clues. So we just getting people using it and searching and everything. So we are looking forward to, like, okay, could we do like a verified store? So the sellers could go on there and put some additional information about their store that maybe we don't have, because we're just indexing them kind of like Google does. And so what if they could put all this information in there, and then they could be a verified store? So we're looking at that. They love the concept and they love how it works, but it's a chicken and the egg. How a chicken and the egg works. It's like, well, you need the eyeballs to have them be like, oh, I want to be on there. And then you got to have the stores on there. So we do have a lot of the stores on there just from our indexing, but we want to get them verified and we have a rating system now, but it would be great to have, even more ratings, so that those stores that come in there, people feel more confident about, because, you don't know these stores from Adam when you're searching on them, whether it's a Google or through 3 Clues, but, it does allow you to find stores that you would never find before. But I think, in the next couple months, we're reaching out to the sellers to getting them involved with it, show them how it works. We have a newsletter. It's called Shop Small Sunday, and we try to encourage people to shop small, because this is more about shopping small than, the big box. And so on every Sunday, it's like Shop Small Sunday, because, as you know, Shop Small is a Saturday thing. If you're going down to, like, go uptown, and you literally get in your car and you drive and you go and you shop small. But for 3 Clues, it's like, well, why not shop small online? Because you can now search and find millions of stores all over the internet. So you can sit on your couch on Sunday and shop small. So we have this thing called Shop Small Sunday, which is our newsletter, but it doesn't really promote 3 Clues. It's just like, hey, just shop small. Here's a way to do it. But that's kind of the angle there.
Yeah, no, and I have been on there, scrolled around. That's one of the things I loved about, I saw products that I hadn't seen before. And I think, that to me, that's what the internet needs to just open up a little bit more. We have all these giants, and, we're kind of, it's really hard to really discover new things on the internet, in my opinion, now. So
yeah, that was the whole idea behind it. It's like, you can type in things like camo, CAMO, which is basically camouflage, and you will see all these products that come back that are all like camouflage. You can type in giraffe if you're into giraffes, and you see all these giraffes. You can type in skull, if you're into skulls, or bull. And you were like, well, why would somebody type in, leopard into Amazon or even Google or whatever? Well, you wouldn't, but in 3 Clues, it's actually really cool. If you go to 3clues.com and you type in, something like beaver or whatever, you just kind of into something, Dungeons and Dragons or whatever it happens to be, you see products that you would never be able to find, and not just products, it's the stores. It's really the ultimate is the stores that you're kind of connecting with and saying, wow, I didn't know this store was out there for, Dungeons and Dragons dice,
Yeah. And in a world, where we're bombarded with advertising on a lot of these platforms, that's, I think, one of the things that I thought was really refreshing about what you're doing, where it's just all of these products in front of us, and we could, make that decision as opposed to push.
Right. Instead of getting pushed it. Yeah. People are used to seeing the ads through Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and that's great and all. But what if you wanted to go out into the whole internet and say, I'm interested in yoga? Or I'm interested in CrossFit or whatever. Show me what's out there, all these stores that are out there that have to do with, hiking or whatever it happens to be. And then you kind of do that searching. So it's fun to use. It's fun to see all these products. And we kind of encouraging people to just sit on their couches on Sundays and do it. But you can do it anytime you want, of course. But Shop Small Sunday is kind of our angle there. But it's been fun to build this thing. And we're just looking for feedback now on, how does it work? What do you think? And we're also adding a lot more products, more and more. We're mostly Shopify now, Manny, because Shopify was kind
Okay.
of easy way to start because they have the most, but we're going to be getting into all like the Magentos and BigCommerce, and Salesforce actually has a whole thing, and GoDaddy and Squarespace. There's a lot of platforms that have these stores. So, we're still in the early innings of this. And I think by like the end of this year, we'll be up to 3-4 million stores, and it'll be really neat to see. But right now, even if you go out there, it's pretty fun to kind of look through what's there.
That is awesome. So if you're a store and you want to be featured on Three Clues, how is the requirement having to have a Shopify website currently right now, or what is
Yeah,
that
we
like?
have Shopify and Squarespace we have
Okay.
right now, but we'll be able to do GoDaddy and all the rest. We have this thing called Three Clues verification. It's on the About page. And, right now it's real manual, but we want to make a real formal thing where you submit your store and you put in the keywords that you want to show up higher for, and then you'll be verified, and it'll show the Three Clues verified stores and all that. So that's still kind of in the works, but that's definitely
Cool.
what we want to do, what you're talking about for sure.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, Stuart, I'm excited for what you're working on, and I'm happy the community is able to learn more about it. Everyone, make sure you go check it out. Three Clues, the number three clues, CLUES.com. And it's a President's Day. Do you have any plans on today, on the holiday?
Well, I'm having lunch with a guy that actually started the Shop Small community. It's shopsmall.co, Nathan,
Okay.
and he basically started the shopsmall.co, I think it's called. And it was actually started in Columbus, so I'm having lunch with him
Wow.
just to kind of talk shop small and that sort of thing. So I'm doing that for lunch. But this has been great to catch up with you, Manny, and just start the promotion of Three Clues, because it's something that's going to take a while to really get out there and work on. But it's been a blast to do that, and I really appreciate you, kind of speaking it up a little bit.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Stuart, and great catching up with you. Everyone, make sure you go check it out, threeclues.com. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of It's Bigger Than Business.
Great. Thanks, Manny.
Thank you.